Right on time. Good evening, everybody. This is Dr. King coming from an 800 link. Tonight's topic will be on focusing on your life's narrative, which is basically a big way of saying your life story. And once again, there is going to be short and sweet tonight again. It's December. No long ones this month. Well, maybe next week, I'm not sure. But without further ado, we'll get going. Everybody's names in the chat box. I posted the survey. If you have any questions, type them in the chat box and I'll get to them as soon as I can, either after. Let me start the slideshow. And somebody, please do not let me forget to take the picture, because I have to make sure I have my picture included. Focusing on your life's narrative. I'm moving some boxes around. Bear with me for a second. Trying to make sure I can see everything. And as always, I introduce myself. My name is Dr. Bridget King, center for tonight. All of you ladies know me, but whatever. Who's Dr. King? I am a 34-year resident of Duncanville, Texas. I have lived in the 800 link community for 18 years, and I'm a wife and a mother. How did I become Dr. King? Graduated from Duncanville High School. Then, oh, Trina's here. Good evening, Trina. Somebody post the link for Trina, please. I attended El Centro College, where I received an Associate of Arts and Science and Liberal Arts. Then I moved on to attend the University of Texas of the Permian Basin, where I earned my Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. Good evening, Tori. Somebody post Trina. Tori, type your names in the chat box for my attendance, please, ma'am. Thank you. So we'll start over because I've had some people. I thought you ladies were coming, but I didn't know, so I'd already gotten started, but I can start over. Tonight, we will be discussing, focusing on your life's narrative. Everybody in here knows your life's narrative, just basically a big way of saying your life story. What do you want your life story to be? And so with every introduction, Trina, I think this is your first or second time, but I always introduce myself. I'm Dr. Bridget King. I live at 800 links, but I have little sections that I go through. So who is Dr. King? Resident of Duncanville, Texas. I've lived in the 800 link community for 800 years, for 18 years, and I am a wife and a mother. How did I become Dr. King? I graduated from Duncanville High School, and then I moved on to attend El Centro College, where I earned my Associate of Arts and Science degree in Liberal Arts. I moved on there to attend the University of Texas of the Permian Basin in West Texas, where I earned a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. Went on to graduate school to attend the University of Phoenix and received my Master of Arts in Organizational Management, and recently earned my doctorate at North Central University, where I received an education doctorate in sports management. And so with all of that education, what have I done with my life? So my question at the bottom is, what have you done with your life, Dr. King? For 25 plus years, I've worked in corporate America in various industries and for various companies. 12 of those years, I also worked in higher ed for 3 universities, teaching classes such as Introduction to Organizational Behavior, Principles of Organizational Behavior, Human Resources Management, 21st Century Leadership and Beyond, motivating and managing people, cultural diversity, managing people for performance, critical thinking and planning, as well as solutions-focused leadership. Each week, I will be highlighting different courses that I taught, so that to give you guys some kind of understanding of the foundation of things that I understand and know. These are classes that for the most part I have enjoyed teaching, some I didn't, but for the most part there's only a couple that I did not like to teach, and I did not teach them very often. But some of these classes are new from what I listed last week. So if you were here last week, a lot of these classes are new from the ones that were on there last week. And then I've always taken professional development courses of some kind. I have over 300 professional development courses listed on my curriculum vitae. 12 years grassroots girls basketball program owner and coach for the Lady Panthers Girls Basketball Association, leader of the National Youth Sports Strategy Champion federal program, and we are also a USA Basketball accredited program. All of that's with LPGBA. And then I have 12 years working as a parent volunteer for Duncanville ISD. I've served as president and vice president of the PTA within Duncanville ISD, and served in various roles for various sports leagues in the DFW Metroplex. Got another blessing on the, I won't speak on that yet until it's all done and over with, but the Lord is doing some great things. 2020 has been awful in some aspects and wonderful for me and others. But moving right along, who at TI Communities Pillars does this presentation focus on as every week? Remember last week we had education, health and wellness and community building. Well, this week we're back to just education and community building, but those Trina and Tori are always, man, where did Tori disappear to? Are always my, oh, there she is, are always my foundation. I mean, I'm a resident educator, so all my topics have to have an education foundation. Trying to make sure you ladies don't disappear on me or something happens. So you'll see me messing with boxes and things, trying to make sure that I have everybody here. So who does this presentation benefit? This presentation benefits anyone who is trying to understand the holistic parts of their own life. A life narrative helps you to put your life into perspective and helps you to create goals. So the biggest question is, what is a life narrative? I'm pretty sure somebody is asking or somebody is thinking and may not want to ask, so I'll answer it for you. Literary definition, I'm going to always provide a technical definition of most things, and then I will give you layman's terms. So the technical literary definition of a life narrative is a non-canonical set of ever-shifting self-referential practices that engages the past in order to reflect on identity in the present. Non-canonical just means it's not, canonical means there's, you know, you have different types of writing, you know, autobiographies, essays, you know, there's a set process and protocol. That's what canonical means. Non-canonical means you're not following any protocol when you're writing. And most often a life narrative is an autobiography, or if it's something that's written for a book or for a story or something like that. So that's the literary definition of it. Then the simple definition is it's a life story narrative by the person living it. The synonyms for a life narrative are autobiography, memoir, and life writing. Those are all the same thing as a life narrative. And did anybody just ask me a question? I thought I heard something. If not, don't worry about it. If you do, like I said, just type it in the chat box for me and I'll get to it. I have stuff going on. Do I have anything? Okay, I'm checking everything out, ladies. I got a lot of boxes open on my end. And then, like I said, the simple definition is basically a life story of the person living that life. It recounts different life experiences and things that matter to that person. It can be a clear and detailed story and flow like a timeline, or it can be less clear and fragmented and be blotchy and spotchy and whatever somebody wants to tell about themselves. There may be parts of their lives that they don't want to address and want to leave back. It reflects on one's self-identification and investigation of their past while in the present to determine their future. Does that make sense? You're looking at your past in the present to determine calculated steps to move forward. That's pretty much what that means. And then it may be fact or it may be fiction. Some people write their life stories and they're not true at all. Once again, that's their prerogative to do. But the expectation is that the person will be truthful in their experiences. I mean, there are a lot of autobiographies on TV that certain parts are true, certain parts are not, and that's fine. You know, there are parts of people's lives that they don't want to address, and that's perfectly fine. So they doctor it up and do what they want to do with it. So how does one reflect on their life's narrative? These are the questions that you will ask yourself. And once again, this is whether you want to write it or whether you're just thinking about, you know, what can I do to make my life better? These are questions that you can ask yourself. And this is just 5 questions. There are 1,000 questions that you can think of once you get started questioning yourself on certain things. But these are just, you know, typical 5 that you can work with. So number 1, what do I want others to know about me? What do you want to tell the world about yourself, or specific people that you want about yourself? And we'll address that in a second. What do I want to do with my life, both personally and professionally? If you are a person that is fairly young, you know, that's a question for you. You haven't, what they say, lived yet. So you get to question yourself. If, you know, if you're, you know, a teenager in your early 20s and you haven't started to actually live, that's a question you want to ask. What do I want out of my life? What do I want to do both personally and professionally? And then if you're somebody like myself or older, what have I done with my life? What more can I do with my life? That's another question. I don't have it here, but that's another question. What have I done with my life? What more can I do with my life? Can I do something new? Can I start something new? There are 1,000 questions that you can ask when you think about these things. What will my legacy be? What do I want to leave my family to know about myself? Things like that. Those are all questions that you can ask. My apologies. I'm trying to set my timer to be cognizant of everybody's time. And then what do I want my family and friends to say about me if asked? These are all questions that when you think about your life's narrative, what are things that you want to do? How do you want to live your life to answer those questions and even more that you can add to that list? Those all come from you. Nobody can tell you how you are to live your life. You can see what others are doing with theirs, and you may emulate certain parts, and negate the others. But at the end of the day, there's only one you. You are unique. You have been made to be who you are. You have your own purpose in life. You have your own goals. The Lord has his own plan for you. Live your life and nobody else's. Don't try to emulate what somebody else is doing. You are here to make your mark and leave your mark on the world. And the ones who figure that out sooner rather than later will have on life, because no one else has done, and 9 times out of 10 that leads to something awesome. So how does your life's narrative help with goal setting? Me, I'm a big person on setting goals. So goals are used and created for you to fulfill your life's purpose. Everybody has a purpose. I've done a presentation on this a few weeks back. Everybody has a life's purpose. You have to figure out what yours is. And the earlier in life you do that, it's a little bit better, but it doesn't really make a difference. You can be whatever. Just make sure you figure out what your purpose is in life and start working on it. So the things that you need to know about yourself is, what is your passion? I posted a meme, was it yesterday or the day before, that said, whatever you keep coming back to, that's your passion. It's not just a fleeting thought. That's your passion. If it keeps coming and entering your head, I don't care whether you thought about it as a kid and then you think about it again. You're thinking about it over several years. You may forget about it, then all of a sudden you're in college and it pops back up. That's something that you may want to, sit back and devote some time and journal and figure out why that idea keeps coming to you. Everybody has a passion for something that they are to do in life. That's the spark. That's the flame. So then once you figure out what your passion is, what is your purpose? Passion leads to purpose. So now once you figure out, I have a passion, you'd ever told me at the age of 21 that I would be coaching basketball and running a program and working with kids, I would completely slap you. I love it. I love it. Couldn't have told me that then. Back then, I didn't even want kids, but I love coaching kids. I like working with kids. And no matter how far I may want to say I'm done coaching, with everything that goes on and all the drama and all the foolishness, I always manage to get mad, let myself vent, get up the next morning, and I'm back at it again. My friends will tell you, she ain't not coaching. And that's true. As much as I get mad at things, I think about it, let it go, pray on it, get up the next morning, and I'm ready to coach again. I'm ready to do something again. So I figured out my purpose. It took me, how long have I been coaching? 13 years. So it took me from the age of 30 until I was 35 years old to figure out that working with kids and coaching and stuff like that was my purpose. Like I said, in my 20s, you would have never been able to tell me that, but you can now. And then once you figure out your passion, your purpose, the next thing you start to do are figure out your goals, because your goals need to be linked to your purpose. There is no point in having a self-fleeting goal. It's just an outlier. If you want to think about the bell curve, we talk about the bell curve, statistical bell curve. You have the 86% that's going to be your average stuff. Then you have your outliers. Your goals need to be in that bell, because that's where your purpose is. Your outliers, you're going to do something, unique or weird, or however you want to phrase it. Those are going to be your outliers. Those are your fleeting moments. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be stuff that you do and are drawn to do in that 86% curve. So your goals come from your purpose, which come from your passion. And it just takes you evaluating yourself and your life to figure out what those are. So as you reflect on your life, you can learn what your passion is or are. We just talked about that, whether you have a passion or several passions to determine your life's purpose. And you may have more than one purpose. I love teaching as well. That's another purpose. I love coaching kids. I love working with kids, but I also love teaching. I love doing these presentations. I was scared, those of you that have been with me from the beginning, and I am on presentation number 26 this week, ladies, but I was scared to death to do this, but I've learned that it's fun. It was just something new. I'm never going to say no to trying something new unless it's life-threatening, but most often I'm going to attempt it once, and if I like it, I'll do it again. And I actually grew to like this. And so my purpose here is also bringing education topics. Being a resident educator has become another purpose for me. It's a way for me to teach. Teaching online is something else that I've grown to love to do. And I'm saying I'm not doing it and haven't done it for it'll be 2 years in March unless I find a teaching position. But those are things that are out of my hands, but I have purposes. I have a couple of passions that lead to several purposes. You have to know what those are. All of that ultimately will help you to develop your goal list. My goal list is pages long. I cross out one, add another one, fulfill another one, cross it out, add another one. I'm always trying to keep myself busy. So the goal is the want, the purpose is the reason, and the passion is the fuel. Understand that? The goal is the want. What do you want to do? Purpose is the reason. Why do you want to do this? And the passion is the fuel. You got to have motivation. Fuel is motivation. And the things that you need to understand is that purpose guides the life decisions that you will make. Because we can't keep, when we're young, we're just floating through life. Stuff happens, stuff don't happen. As you get older, you got to start making some calculated decisions, and all of this, whole conversation last week. Remember, when you're a teenager, you're a car with no brakes and no steering wheel until you're about 18 to 25. Kind of all flows into this. Your purpose kind of starts to show itself. And once again, there are outliers. There are kids that did anybody pay attention last week to the little 15-year-old girl that was the first girl that's Times Kid of the Year? We met that little girl at the Congress of Future Medical Leaders 2 or 3 weeks ago. Girl is 15. 15 years old, and she is creating all of these scientific devices, and she created her first one at 13. She's an outlier. Your average child is not doing that at 13. Most people don't even figure out what they want to do until they get to college. So she's an exception. Nobody should be comparing their kids to her. I don't even think her parents knew that she was going to be that way. But she's a brilliant Sheldon times 10. Love, we were introduced to that young lady. She is very focused. Outlier. Most often, you're not going to figure out what your purpose is in life until you're mid to early, late 20s. Let's just say your 20s, college years. Then the purpose influences your actions and behaviors. Once you figure out what your purpose is in life, it starts to make you create calculated steps. You're not just fleetingly going through life. You have calculated steps that you are taking. You're working on in certain professional positions. You're taking certain classes. You're hanging around with certain people. You're starting to learn that, when you're in certain environments, you can't do and say everything you want to, depending on who you're around. You got to learn to adapt, learn to adjust. It starts to influence your actions and behaviors. Purpose shapes your goals. You're just not creating random goals. Your goals have a purpose to them. They have some type of flow to them. You'll start to figure out when you're creating your goal list that they correlate to each other. It could be something as simple as, I'm gonna make a lasagna, then I'm gonna go buy a car. That's 2 different goals, but when you start to find, get purpose in it, your goals are, okay, I'm gonna make a lasagna. Well, maybe I want to take a cooking class. Maybe I want to take an Italian cooking class. Your goals just start to get more specific. You're not just doing random weird stuff. Every now and then you will, but more than likely your life will start to correlate to each other. The roles that the hats that you wear, the roles that you play will start to correlate themselves together. Purpose shapes your goals. I just talk about that, shapes your goals. Purpose gives your life meaning. When you are not floating through life and when you have a purpose to do something, it gives your life meaning. Remember, what do you want your legacy to be? That's where the life meaning comes from. That's where your whole meaning to your existence comes into play. Figure out what your purpose is if you don't know what it is already. It may not be the career that you're currently in, and that's fine. You can still handle your career and still do your life's purpose. You know, we saw, if anybody was paying attention, we just saw 2 pastors become the mayors of their cities. It doesn't mean that they don't want to be pastors, but at some point they found a purpose in life to, you know, to start a political career, to do what's best for the people in where they represent. You know, you can do more than one thing. You can have more than one purpose, but you have to figure out what those are. That comes from knowing what your passions are. Sit down with a list of paper. Hold on, I'm moving too fast. We'll get there. But you can figure out, there is a simple way, journaling, that you can figure out what your passion and your purposes are. So why is knowing and understanding yourself important to your life's narrative? For one very simple reason. Y'all, I am tired. And so I'm kind of tripping a little bit, but I'm good. It's been a long but unproductive day, and that doesn't work for me. It actually wears me out when I'm not productive. If I'm productive, I tend to be really focused and zoned, and I wasn't productive today. The reason that it's important to know and understand yourself is because when life gets to be too much, when problems start to just mount and just pile on top of each other, when you are this close to giving up, knowing your why from keeping your passion and purpose at the forefront is what will push you to persevere and hopefully be determined to keep going forward when you think that you cannot. We have all at some point in life said, man, forget this. I don't care about this no more. You know how they throw papers up in there. Wow. I ain't doing this no more. We've all been there, but you have to remember your why. Why did you start doing this? That's why the difference between a job and a career, that's why it's so easy for people to quit a job, but very hard for them to quit a career. Career designates purpose. Job is just over broke. That's what you do to pay bills. A career stems from a passion, stems from a purpose that you had. So when you make it past that turmoil and think back, you will have just one more thing about yourself to be proud of that you were able to overcome and accomplish. And when you start to string those proud moments together, you will produce a great life's narrative. You have to remember your why. There are a lot of things that if I say, if you don't hear me say, but one time, this is another one of those things. Remember your why. Why are you doing this? Because if there is no purpose to what you're doing, regardless to what it is, you're not learning anything from it. You're not leaving, like they say, putting that stank on it, putting that on it. All of that just is whatever street slang of saying purpose. You have figured out your purpose. And I don't care what it is. You could be a cook, you could be a basketball player, you could be a race car driver, you could be a surgeon. It doesn't matter. Make sure that you know your why for why you're doing those things. And then that means that you made that decision for you to be that, whatever that is, and no one else made that decision for you. And don't ever allow money to be the sole reason as to why you're doing something. And why? Because there's never enough money in print. And when you're allowing something extrinsic, remember we always talk about extrinsic, outward, extrinsic, inner. If your goals are always tied to something extrinsic, you will never fulfill them to where they make you feel accomplished intrinsically. Make sure that your goals are intrinsically driven. That means they come from you. Nobody else gave these goals to you, unless the person that is motivating you. There are people out there that can motivate you to do some things because you may not have thought that you can do them for yourself, and then you see other people do it and you try it and that gives you motivation to keep going. That's something different. But don't allow somebody else's goals for your life cause you to do something you don't want to do. Just that simple. Your parents may have wanted you to be a surgeon, but you chose that you want to be a DJ. That's your business. That's your business. You just better make sure if you're going to be this jockey or whoever, that you better be the best one that you can, because you would never live it down if you don't. You know, your life decisions are yours. You just make sure whatever they are, that you are the best at what they are. So what if you want to write your life's narrative? So remember, I said most people actually are writing down, you know, they're writing their memoirs, writing their life stories, you know, celebrities, you know, athletes, they're all big about this. You know, President Obama just came out with a book. Michelle Obama had a Becoming. You know, normally when somebody has lived a really extravagant life that is a once in a lifetime thing, they are going to write a book about it. It's just, that's just the thing to do. And so what if you want to put your life in, you know, your life's narrative in writing or type it or whatever? Ask yourself these questions, ponder on them, and do the following things. Consider who it is that you want to read your life story. Who do you want to read it? Who do you want to read your story? Are you writing a book and you're going to sell it on Amazon and you don't care who reads it? Or are you going to write a book, have it self-published, and hand it out to certain people to read? You know, those are things that you have to consider, because that determines how open and freely you are with your business. You know, determining who you want to read your story determines how much of your story you put in it. Or, you know, who do you specifically want to read your story? What do you want people to know about your life? Once again, that depends on who you want to read. You know, like I said, you can write your book, sell it on Amazon. You can care less if somebody on the island of Timbuktu out in the Pacific writes, has it, I mean, reads it, buys it, reads it, and whatever. But if you're writing it for a specific person, that's gonna, or people, you know, groups of people, that's gonna determine what you want people to know about yourself. And just start writing. Like I said, remember, journaling. We had a whole presentation on journaling last week. Just write. Get a spiral, get a book notepad, get notebook paper, get a laptop, an iPad, whatever. Just start writing and journal your thoughts. Choose a theme. You know, some people are good at, they have so many, you know, they've written so much and have, you know, boxes and boxes and boxes of journals that they can, you know, so remember I told you last week, when you start journaling, you start figuring out things about yourself, you know, triggers, things that make you happy, you know, you start figuring out, you know, things like that. Well, that's where things come in. You can start writing about certain parts of your life or certain events in your life, things like that. So you choose a theme. Once again, you don't have to, but you know, if you have a bunch of journals and you decide you want to write a book about your life, choose a theme, and then write or type out different parts of your life on separate sheets of paper in order for them to flow into a final product, you know, when you combine them. So journaling is one thing. Remember, I told you journaling is nothing but an adult diary. That's pretty much all it is. But when you start to say, hey, I want to write a book about my life, you have to start taking that diary. And if you haven't done it already, you can start taking separate sheets of paper and, you know, creating categories of your life, however you want to do that. I can't tell you what to do, but however you want to do that. But you start writing separate, you know, certain instances or certain parts of your life. You know, a specific date may come to mind. This happened on Christmas 1933, or this happened on Christmas. Nobody is in here. Nobody on this. I'm sorry, y'all. There is nobody on this presentation born in the 30s. You know, but I'm just saying, just separate life incidences. You write on separate sheets of paper. Don't flow them. You know, don't take 2 or 3 stories and put them on one sheet of paper, because when you do that, you'll get yourself out of whack when you start trying to make stuff flow. That way, when you start to create your final product, you can take those stories and take those sheets of papers and move them around so those stories fit, unless they are tied to a timeline. If they're tied to a timeline, then it doesn't matter. And if you are not comfortable with audio or video, record yourself. Nobody said that there's one way. As you know, as people, I tell people all the time, we do not all learn the same way. We are not all writers. We are not all people that, you know, are audio or video inclined. Figure out how you want to do your life's narrative and do that. Period. Talk with friends and family, as well as review family photos and photos of yourself, school photos or whatever, to fill in gaps of information when you don't remember something. You know, or you may have remembered something happening this way and you ask somebody about it and they remember it happening a whole nother way. You know, so talk with family and friends and look at photos and all of those types of things. And range of emotions, meaning write about different things that ran the gamut of your emotional life or cycle, you know, from happy to sad to whatever, so that your narrative shows you at every emotional point in your life. Once again, this determines what you want people to know about yourself. Remember choosing a theme. If all you want to talk about are the sad parts of your life, whatever. If all you want to talk about are the happy parts of your life, whatever. You want to talk about it, your high school years, whatever. Just choose a theme and go with it, unless you're doing a full timeline of your life. And most often, you're not doing that unless something big has happened and you want to let everybody know how you went from, like they say, you see the pictures now where they say from here to here, or started from here and now we here, you know, those types of things. So you have to know what your theme is and who you're wanting to write to and what you want people to know about you. That's going to determine how much of your emotions you're going to put, you know, in any emotional stories that you have in your life, how much you're going to reveal about yourself in that aspect. And then just like journaling, writing your life's narrative is very therapeutic and can be therapeutic. So for those that like to sit down and write in diaries, you know, like myself, I journal all the time. Sometimes you just got to put your thoughts down. You know, a lot of times people do it when they're angry. That's fine. You know, some people do it every day, just like they, you know, wrote in diaries as a kid, dear diary, today I did this. You know, name your diary, give your diary a name, you know, but it just depends on, you know, how you want to write. Journaling is that's your thing. Nobody can tell you how to journal. There's no one set way to journal. So when you start to journal and you write down things, it becomes therapeutic. You start to get those emotions out, and when you can get them out, it starts to make you feel better. So journaling and writing your life's narrative, you know, your life's narrative is nothing but a big journal. You know, it can become therapeutic for you. And like I said, this was not a long one tonight. We are 32 minutes in, and these are my references. Like I said, you know, I have my thoughts, but I always try to add some research to it. And I don't see anybody. Does anybody have any questions on anything? I don't see any questions in the chat room, but I always leave room for questions if anybody has them. And if you have any, I'm gonna go past this screen, but if you have them, just write them, type them in the chat box and I'll get there with you. Oh, ladies, don't go anywhere. It's time for me to, let me snap this picture right quick of y'all. And then I'll talk about what's coming up next week. Hold on, I'm trying to readjust the box so I can see y'all, because I'll mess around and forget to take my picture and I'll get in trouble. There we go. So I have my picture. So next week's topic, the importance of you. Take time and make time for self-care. Hold on, y'all. I didn't lose y'all, but I resized my box and I lost y'all. So next week, coming next Thursday, December 17th on Zoom, I'm sorry, at 7 p.m. on Zoom, is the importance of you making time for self-care, or make time for self-care. I haven't figured out if I want to change that title around. Right now, that's what it is. I mean, the topic is about making time for self-care, but I think I'm going to reword that. I'm not sure yet. And if anybody has any questions for me once this is over, you know to contact me at drbridgetking.edu. Excuse me, 800 educator Bridget at community.com. Did I not tell y'all I was sleepy? Yes, self-care is detrimental, Tori, and we're going to have a wonderful conversation on that next week. I may do a focus panel and put some of y'all on there. But 800 educator Bridget at TICommunities.com. And then if you want to find me on Facebook, facebook.com, Dr. Bridget M. King, EDD. And so I ask you, what does your life's narrative say about you? I did, Sister Thompson, I took it, but I'm going to take it again. Nobody log out. I'm going to do it different because I didn't like that picture. I didn't like the background, even though it was a Christmas thing, kind of weird once I took it. So as soon as I end a screen share, I'm going to take another picture of y'all. So nobody log out. But that is this week's presentation. I'm not ending it. There we go. Nobody move. Nobody log out. I now have everybody's name on the screen. There we go. But I I am looking for some topics, ladies. I have already introduced my topics. We have to get our topics approved every couple of months. So I've already submitted my topics for January and February, and we will be doing the personal SWOT analysis in January. I had to remember that I wanted to get that done, but I am looking for some topics, and I need y'all to send them to me. Text them, email, whatever. I need some topics of some things that y'all want me to do a presentation on for 2021. You know, we only have 21 days left in this month, but to be honest, y'all do realize we're only 9 months into Corona. So, you know, this stuff didn't really lose its mind and everything until March, remember? Corona, everybody was trying to deny Corona existed this time last year. You know, so Corona didn't hit the scene and start doing the damage that she started doing in the large numbers she did until February, March. So we're really 9 months into Corona. So 2021, you know, she's gonna come in or he's gonna come in, but he need to come in and get somewhere and sit down. Don't start with all that foolishness. But I need some topics for 2021. I need from the people that listen to my presentations. What do you ladies want me to cover in 2021? Email, text, smoke screens, whatever. Call me, whatever. Send it to me on Facebook. I don't care how you get it to me. Just get some topics to me of what you ladies would like to see me present on for the 2021 year, all 12 months. You know, if you only got one, that's fine. If you got 12, that's fine. I just need some topics. I drew a blank yesterday trying to, because I had 46 topics to cover, and I've gone through 26 of them. So I am, you know, running my list of topics is on the bare minimum. So I need some more topics, and I need you ladies' help with that. But if there are no questions or anything, has everybody clicked on the survey form? I don't see it for Trina and Tori. I'll post it, post event survey. Everybody make sure that you fill out, and you can actually also put your topics in there, and they'll send me an email and say, you know, hey, Bree, you got a request to do this topic. You know, you can put them in the surveys as well. Everybody should now be able to see the link in the chat box for the post-event survey. Click on that. So when I close out this meeting or presentation, whatever, that you will still have the survey form. Oh, let me put the information because everybody doesn't know. It's going to ask you for the complex. The complex is 800 link. You're going to put education and community building as the pillars. I think the second question is, what pillars did it cover or whatever? And you just say it, you click the boxes, check the boxes for education and community building, and it's going to ask you a series of questions, and then you're done. It's going to ask you what apartment you live in. Put that you do not live in the complex. I don't want to give out my my door number for security reasons, but just put that you don't live in the complex, and that's fine. They still read them anyway, even if you don't live here. But those are the two things that you're going to need. And the presentation was called focusing on your life's narrative. That's what it is. Focusing on your life's narrative. That's the topic. It's going to ask you what the event name. That's the event name. Focusing on your life's narrative. And then the community is 800 link. And then the pillars are, I forgot how they ask you, but it's going to give you a drop down menu of check boxes, and you're going to choose education and community building. And so I'm going through, but yeah, I haven't decided how I want to do next week's presentation yet, Tori, because I may want to do like a focus thing and do a share type where, you know, I can talk to people about, you know, excuse me, y'all, I'm getting the hiccups. Hold on just a second. I am so sorry. I apologize for that. I'm trying to stop myself from getting hiccups. But I'm not sure how I want to do next week, but I might try to do a panel where we talk about, you know, some self-care things. I don't know. I'll look into that. But that's next week. I got a few days. I'll look into that on Sunday because I don't work on Friday and Saturday. But If anybody doesn't have any questions on anything, we'll go ahead and end it. I was a little long-winded tonight. I apologize. I said this was only going to be 30 minutes, but this has been an unproductive day for me, and I got going, and y'all know how that how that goes with my presentations. But if there are no questions, I want to say I love you all. Thank you all for coming. I hope to see all of you next week. If you want to bring a friend, if not, whatever. See y'all next week. I love the numbers tonight. We had more people tonight. To me, like I said, I'll do a presentation for one like it was 1 million people. So having 5 ladies in here, I'm gonna give you the same presentation I would give if it was 5 million people in here. So thank you all. I appreciate you coming, and I'll say good night. Love y'all.